I am in the middle of quite a few series and I really need to continue with them and hopefully eventually finish them, but I'm not going to be doing that in this video. Instead, I'm just going to be reading the next book in series that I have already started, and I already have 3 picked out for my mini TBR for this video. There are 3 books that I'm very excited to get to. I absolutely love the series that they are a part of, and I can't wait to see what happens next in each of them. So first I have Wild at Heart by K.A. Tucker. This is the second book in the Simple Wild series. When I read the Simple Wild, I didn't realize it was part of a series until I got to the end, and so I ordered this ASAP, and I really want to get to it before I forget what happened in the first one. It's still fresh on my mind because I did read it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm dying to know what happens next. So this one is definitely on the TBR for this reading vlog. Then I have You Love Me by Carolyn Kepnes. This is the 3rd book in the You series. I think I read You and Hidden Bodies, which is the first and second books of this series, in like 2023 maybe. I honestly don't remember, but the good thing about this series is that it is so freaking creepy and weird. I would never forget what happened in the first 2, so I can safely go into this one without rereading and getting a recap on what happened in the first 2. I'm really looking forward to reading this one, but I'm also super nervous because I was so disturbed after reading the first 2. I just know this is gonna make me feel icky reading it. And then last I have volume 8 of Lore Olympus. I also possess volume 9, but I think I kind of want to pace myself reading these because only 1 or 2 come out a year, and I don't want to have to wait forever between volume 9 and whenever the 10th one comes out. So I'm just gonna go with this one this time, and hopefully it doesn't end on a huge cliffhanger that makes me want to pick up volume 9 like instantly. I also have no idea when or if this series is ever gonna have an end. I'm not sure if it's really solidified yet, if the author even knows, but that's okay with me because I really love it. It is such a fun romance series with lots of drama and kind of sad plot lines as well interweaved throughout it. But I think right now I am in the mood for like a cozier romance, so I am going to start with Wild at Heart. I just finished Pride and Prejudice like yesterday, so I'm a little nervous that I am not going to be super into anything else right now because that is like my favorite book of all time, and it's hard to love a book after finishing that one for me. So hopefully this one is just as good as the first one, and it'll keep me wanting to read, and I will avoid a massive reading slump.
I just finished Wild at Heart. I have to say that this is exactly what a sequel should be and more. Like, it continued the story from The Simple Wild like it wasn't even a sequel, it was just a continuation. And then not only that, it didn't try to make it any more high stakes than it needed to be to outdo the first one. There were still different relationships growing, including the ones that were in the first book, and then also new ones that were introduced throughout this one that didn't feel like they were just there because it was a sequel. Like, it felt very natural to the story. I also have to say that this author did a very good job at giving the characters conflict, but not making it bad enough that like you end up hating any of them. I always hate that with romance. Sometimes the third act conflict or breakup or whatever you want to call it is so jarring and upsetting and ridiculous that if it were real life, you'd hope that these people would never end up together ever again. But this book is safe from that problem. Thank goodness. I'm so glad. I was very nervous throughout this that it was going to turn it into something that was going to make me kind of annoyed and angry, but it didn't, and I'm very happy with it. So I am going to rate this one 5 stars, just like the first one. And I have to honestly say that this so far has been one of my favorite romance series that I have ever read, and I think it's really slept on. These definitely need to be hyped up way more. I also want to take a second and apologize. I sound disgusting right now, but I'm getting over a horrible virus, and because of that I have not actually read very much the last few weeks. This book, as good as it was, took me like 3 weeks to get through because my head hurt so bad I could not read. Trust me, if I hadn't have been sick I probably would have read it in like 2 or 3 days. Unfortunately that couldn't happen, but I am kind of glad that I could take my time with it and really enjoy my time with these characters. I do have a novella that goes along with this. It's like a 2.5, very short. I think it's like 100 or so pages, but it follows these characters as well. And I also ordered the third book that is the same world and some of the same characters, but the main character is one of the side characters in this book and the first one. So I can't wait to read that, and I'm hoping that I'm going to like it just as much as the first two, but that's going to be hard. I've got high expectations going into it. But for now, with this vlog, I am just going to continue with the little TBR that I set out for myself, and I think I'm going to continue that by reading volume 8 of Lore Olympus. I really do want to read You Love Me, but I think I just need a quick read right now, a pick-me-up, considering I've just not been reading very much lately and I still do not feel the greatest. So I am going to, I think, read this. Hopefully it only takes me a couple of days and I'm going to feel like I'm like back on track with my reading. I can't actually remember what happened in volume 7 either, so I'm also hoping this one's going to have a little recap because I couldn't tell you what happened at the end of that one. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start this right now. Maybe get myself a cup of tea or something too, because like my throat is not great right now. I just finished volume 8 of Lore Olympus, and it was good, but it wasn't as good as the other ones, I think. I'm having a really hard time deciding if I want to rate this 3 or 4 stars, because I really liked the end. Honestly, probably the last like 100 pages. I really enjoyed, and it made me feel like the previous 7 had made me feel. But up until that, it felt very scatterbrained. Like there was just too much going on in too small amount of pages, if that makes sense. It was going back and forth and fleeting between characters too rapidly, and my head was starting to spin. I could not like comprehend what the heck was going on, which made me feel kind of dumb because it's a graphic novel, and I feel like one should not feel that way when there's pictures involved. But I really liked the end. It set it up in a way that I am still very excited about volume 9, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's actually really hard, and I know I can go back on my writing, and if I say something now, I can change it later. If I'm thinking about it though, between 3 and 4 stars, it's probably not 4 stars. It's probably more 3 stars. I wish it would be 4 stars. I think that's where my hang up is that I wanted it to be 4 stars. I wanted it to be 5 stars, let's be real. But I think it's a 3 star for me. I'm kind of sad about it. Hopefully it picks up again in volume 9, and I'm gonna find my love again for these characters in this series. Anyway, now that I'm done that though, I am gonna start You Love Me. I also have to try to get the sticker off the front of the dust jacket because it was one of those silly ones that like has the discount price on it, and it did not peel off very nicely. So I'm gonna have to break out the old hairdryer and try to get that off. Probably not tonight though, because I'm feeling a little too lazy for that. But I am going to go ahead and start this right now. I have been looking forward to getting back into an actual novel. Not that the graphic novel wasn't a fun time. I don't know why, I just feel like actually reading words right now. So I'm going to hop into this one. I'm sure it is going to give me the heebie-jeebies right before I try to go to bed, so that'll be great.
I just finished You Love Me last night. I have to say, I am really enjoying the books more than the TV show for the Joe Goldberg series. They have now gone in a completely different direction than the show. I really prefer the direction that the books went than the show. I think the show got kind of dull. They really introduced too many characters at once, and there was just, I don't know how to describe it, but it did the thing where it's like trying to make itself more shocking and give it more of a shock factor as the seasons progressed to make it crazier so then people would stay interested. But I think, to me anyway, it actually accomplished the opposite and made it just less believable and not as interesting anymore. The books actually kind of stayed true to who Joe is as a person, which is a horrible person, by the way. Joe Goldberg is an awful man, and I feel kind of scummy reading these books sometimes because there are moments where I find myself rooting for him. He is a serial killer, by the way, who like stalks women and then eventually murders them. And these books are in first person, so you are fully in his mind and know everything that he's thinking, all of the horrible things that go through his mind. But still there are moments where I'm rooting for him. And like I said, I feel nasty thinking that way, but I think it's just how well it's written. And there's nothing else for it. At least that's what I'm gonna chalk it up to, because I don't want to get too psychological here. But yeah, I think I'm gonna rate this one 4 stars. For reference, to me, the first book, just called You, was definitely 5 stars. The second book, Hidden Bodies, was probably 3 stars. I liked it less than this one. So I think this one is a solid 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I found the beginning to be a bit slow and then the end to be a bit too abrupt. So the pacing was a little bit off. But other than that, very interesting read. Crazy. And there was actually a twist in it that I was not expecting at all, which was crazy to me. I thought I could see everything coming, and I guess I didn't. But anyway, that is it. That is all of the sequels I'm going to be reading for this vlog. This was a lot of fun just to revisit worlds and characters that I already am familiar with and just go back into them and see what happens next. And the craziest part is that I did not finish any of these series. There are still more sequels to come for each and every one of them, but that is fine with me because I would definitely love to read more from all 3 of these worlds, and hopefully soon too, because like I said, this was a great time. But that is going to do it for me for this video. I hope you have a great rest of your week and happy reading.